Hey, welcome back to Cards and Comics, and today I've got a mail day and a kind of an update on the comic collection. And so here is sort of year to date what I've picked up, and also sort of an update on some of the kind of my Silver Age collection that I've been working on. So we'll start in with the Raw. So here is Sam Wilson and Captain America 3, the variant cover, and ordered this, and I just thought it was a really, really cool cover. And yeah, I thought, it's picked up some traction, and it's just a really nice cover. And, I think the show is going well. I haven't actually watched it yet. I do have Disney, so I'll get around to it. But right now, just enjoy the cover, and I saw, it was kind of a cool book, so I picked it up. Next up is Captain Marvel. Ooh, this is a Han variant, and just really pretty cover. And I really think covers like this variant covers, and which I do a lot of variant collecting in, it's kind of dumb to some extent. I do a lot of variant collecting, and you'll see my collection itself will have, I do have some of the bigger variants, like the, Venomized Mary Jane Spider-Man book, I believe 687. I do have, the Deadpool Wolverine Campbell cover. So things like that. And I have picked them up, and I like them a lot. And so I have a soft spot for variants, and when I see one that's cool and pretty, I get it. Whether or not this is going to be a good investment later on, maybe or maybe not. But when I go to conventions, again, in some videos I talked about, I am planning on going to conventions this year and setting up as a dealer. These books do get some eyeballs, and it's nice to have them because there is a hardcore collector fan base out there. And just like this book, Heir to the Empire, Star Wars, First Thrawn, I believe. So, this is a hot book right now, and, I wish I had a little bit more of these just to have to take with me to conventions. So I am picking these up. This is a pretty nice copy. A little bit here in this area of the book, but, otherwise very flat, very crisp book. And either might get it graded or I might take it raw, but, a book I need to have to go out to some conventions. And another book, and I'm not sure on this what I'm going to do in terms of, do I buy more Berserker, number ones. This is I think a 1 in 50 black and white variant. There's a lot of variants out there, so it's really hard to tell. And obviously I actually almost bought the autographed version, and I still might, depending on how I feel, because here's the thing, like, I do think this has some legs. I know this copy or this book itself has gotten some bad pub from some insiders in the industry, and other folks who just think it's crazy that this has already been optioned and there's studios fighting over it or whatever, and it's going to be converted to multiple media, and nobody's even seen, I think, issue 2 yet, right? But you gotta remember, Keanu Reeves signed on to this. His cover likeness is cool. This fits his, what he would actually do from an actual movie itself. I mean, it just blends right into what he does. So I can't not believe that people would want to be all over this. Now, whether or not it's good or not, I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but I do believe that Keanu Reeves is a good judge of what's good for him. And I do think having a book signed by him that's super limited printed has some potential. Now, it may be a $200 book at some point that people kind of laugh at, or it might be a $5,000 key book that was always in demand because it's rare. I don't know, but I'm probably going to pick up some more Berserker ones to go to conventions, and it's my first one, and I'm kind of dipping my toes, but I really like this one. It's a cool cover. So, regardless, it's still nice. All right, next up is Cowboy Bebop number 2. Now, these are interesting books. from Tokyo Pop. And if you don't know, they're making Cowboy Bebop into an actual live action series on Netflix. Filming's been done. This is not one of those rumors that's never going to happen. This is in the bank and it's going to happen. So this is Faye, and Faye is really in the series, she's a very one of the big protagonists. That is a very complicated character. This is a very nice copy of this book, and it's a little bit. That's on the actual sleeve. This Tokyo Pop, only there's 4 issues, I believe. I think Ed is on one, and Ein. No, number 1 has Spike. Number 2 is Faye. Number 3 is Ed and Ein, and number 4, I believe, is the other guy. I can't think of his name right now. So obviously Faye is a huge cosplay character, really pretty. How they do her in the comics is, she's she's a very strong character with a great backstory and very tragic actually. And so, how they do her in the series could be in the Netflix show. It could be really key. So. But the first appearance of everyone's in number 1. So, but this is the first cover again, and I think it's a cool book. And they're pretty limited, and if you go on eBay, they're hard to find. Here is Secret Wars number 1, kind of jumping up in value pretty heavily recently, and it's a good book. It's a nice, square flat book, and so we'll see. I'll probably end up getting graded if it stays high. This is the first meeting of Deadpool and Wolverine, I believe, in comics, or the first fight. Wolverine number 88, I believe. And so I think it's a really cool Kubrick cover. I just like the kind of how it's set up, and I think eventually this is going to be one of those covers and books that people are going to really seek out. Now it's like that book that's going to be kind of like Wolverine 1, right? So it starts out 25, then 50, then 75, eventually it keeps going. I think this is going to be one of those $25, $50 books for a long time, and I think it's going to be just something that if you're a Wolverine or Deadpool fan, you'll want to have. Next up, Voices Legacy 1. This is Miles Morales variant cover, and just a cool book. And it's kind of, one of those books that just, I like the variant cover, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan. And then last, I believe, Weapon X. This is one of those presents books. I just like the cover. I think it's one of those cool covers. Barry Windsor Smith cover, and just cool. It may never be a huge book, but I think cool covers of Wolverine, Spider-Man are always good to have. So that covers the raw part of my update, and now into the graded part. Much more graded, so we'll go through these one at a time. First up, Amazing Spider-Man 312. Todd McFarlane cover, and it's a cool Green Goblin and Hobgoblin battle, and I think it's not gotten the attention, but this is kind of the truth in all these. Every cool cover that McFarlane's ever done will eventually be hot. So you can say, well, okay, this is not Venom, but I think it's still really cool, and I think eventually a lot of stuff happening, and it's a 9/8 white pages, so it's a good, I think, mini spec play right now. And if the prices keep going up on McFarlane stuff, and Spawn does well when the movie or whatever show's coming out with Spawn, I believe it's a movie, it can only help. So again, it's a low risk spec, and it's a cool book, and I like to have it just for my Spider-Man collection. Next up is, this is a fun book, Thrilling Comics number 61. So this is one of my Schomburg collection books, and so this is a airbrush copy, and so this is from Thrilling, and so this is Princess Panther stabbing a alligator to death. PETA wouldn't like that nowadays on this cover, but really nice shape, 7.5 from 1947. So yeah, 7.5 from 47 of Schomburg, really nice, and so fits in with my collection, and I've got a growing wall of Schomburg books, and this is going to go right there. I'm really happy to pick up a Schomburg. Picked up a few Schomburgs. Now, here is Amazing Spider-Man number 27, and really cool Green Goblin cover. And this is a Steve Ditko art, and early Spider-Man, I think it's kind of that bring back my goblin to me. I mean, very dramatic Stan Lee story, so cool book. I think these are always going to be in demand. The 6.0. I think I have multiple graded copies of that book now. Next up, okay, this is X-Men 71. I picked this up just because I like anything, from the 70s that's X-Men. 7.5. This book isn't very expensive. What I see now is back issues of X-Men from the 70s are going to start, in the late 60s, are going to really skyrocket in value just by people actually putting sets together. And I think this is really interesting that's happening in comics right now. And I see this is happening in the back issue market, is people are putting runs together again, and like, oh my gosh, we're not just key collecting anymore. People want some of the back issues, and so I think having graded versions of these books is going to be fun for collectors nowadays. You don't just pay attention to the keys anymore, and some of these books are hard to grade, and you'll find that there are going to be some low pop books just because they're hard to grade. I don't think this is one of them, but for what I paid, I mean, this was just kind of like an inventory book, but it's still early X-Men, and that's always cool. All right. Next up, following squarely into the I like the cover, so I bought it book, is this 30-cent 76 Marvel 2-in-1, The Thing, and the Scarecrow, which, the Scarecrow, I'm not really sure where he has gone. I don't know, as a character, I don't know if he's even around anymore. But they made a team up with The Thing and the Scarecrow with, I believe, this kind of fits in that monster book era, but I just like the cover. I thought it was kind of wild and wacky 70s Marvel, and again, I think it was like $35, so I mean, can't really go wrong. Here's a book I've always wanted to have. I picked it up because I felt like the price was low, and it's a 9.4, but it's still got white pages, and it's the first Constantine, and I think this will continue to go up in value. Just because Constantine is a great character. And I don't know how many people have this opinion, but I do think the first Constantine film with Keanu Reeves, who, by the way, wants to do another film with Constantine in it, is one of the coolest characters in the DC universe. He is used poorly sometimes, but I do think he already had a good movie. The series was pretty good too. So I mean, this character has a lot of legs, and I think if they could ever get the mystical part of the DCU ever to go, this guy is going to be the superstar of that type of universe with Katana. Sorry, not Katana, Zatanna. Sorry, Zatanna. Those two have a lot of potential, but DC needs to figure out how to get their magical part of the universe up and going. Shazam is up and running, and I don't know why they can't get the rest of it going, because there's a lot of cool characters. But Constantine, again, I thought the movie was really good and a lot of fun. This character, is kind of on the low end right now. I mean, I know some people are buying him, but yeah, I think he's still got some room to grow. I picked this up, and when I bought it, it was the last copy on eBay of this book, and it's only a 5.5, but it's an honest 5.5. It's a nice eye appeal. A lot of spine cracks here. Um, hey, look, it's the first appearance of everyone in the series. It's an important series for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into every pros and cons about this series, but in the end, this whole thing, Strangers in Paradise, is beloved by a lot of folks. It addresses a lot of issues that weren't being addressed. Even if he didn't do them perfectly, I think that's sort of missing the point in some cases. But along with Bone, along with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and some other series from this time period, the early '90s, late '80s, it's going to go up in value, and I think this is one of those series that people are going to try to find. Like I said, this is the last copy on eBay. I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks to see if more's been posted, but they're all disappeared. And these key early '90s, late '80s books from series like this are gone. And that's one thing to think about in the comic book market is it doesn't take much to buy out eBay. And I know there's a lot of these books in the wild, and you could go to a comic show or somewhere else, a dealer that'll maybe have a copy. But if you think about it, the biggest marketplace on earth, they don't exist. And that happens a lot. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, some of their books just don't exist. There's some of these books are just hard to find. And so there might be a couple copies. I think Bone right now, there's one copy of Bone at some stupid price, and that's it. Everyone's been bought. People are buying these key books from this time period like crazy. And even though it's a 5.5, I just wanted to have the book because I like the series. I like the author of the series, and I think it's important. And so I grabbed it, and it wasn't that expensive, but just the idea that it was the last one on eBay and it was a 5.5, and even at that, it had 100 and something watchers or something at some point. It's crazy. Another Throwing Comics, another Schomburg. This is a 3.5. But again, I really like, these Panther covers. And even though a 3.5, I just like any Schomburg. So this one, even for a 3.5, what I like about how he did these covers and how, even if the edges are kind of, the actions in the center, and the center of this book is really nice. And it's just a really cool book. A lot of, even, for kind of two characters drawn where, a lot of his famous artwork has got, a billion things happening. There's still a lot of movement, and I think his airbrushing is on point and really pretty cover. Next up is, I bought this One Punch Man. I think it's Free Comic Book Day, so it's kind of fun. I just grabbed it. It was not very expensive, so I just like the cover. I think it's fun. It's a good series. I watched the series, and I like the character. So, it was it's part of what I do think that anime characters converted into other media in their first comic book appearances is a thing. We saw it with Cowboy Bebop recently, but I think you're going to see this happening over and over again. These first appearances in comic books, not manga, but comic books, for these anime series, once they get converted, is going to be a thing. Next up is Wolverine number 8. So this is kind of a famous cover. John Buscema cover. This is Chris Claremont. Again, I think a lot of people like this cover, and it's kind of an ironic cover. I like this sideways eye glance by Hulk there. Just cool cover, and it's been one of those covers, like I mentioned previously, with the Wolverine 88, with Deadpool. It just keeps going up in value as people just collect these cool covers. And there's nothing amazing about what happens in this book. There's this really cool, I think, Liefeld pin up in the back. So I mean, this book just, it's a lot of cool stuff going on for it, and it's been going up in value. All right, now I'll pull out some of my other books, that I've been collecting, and here is what I talked about earlier. So this is another book I bought recently, the Cowboy Bebop 1. So this is Spike. It's an 8.5, and so I know I wish I had a 9.8. They're hard to get. Not a big print run. But it's the first appearance of Spike, Faye, Ed, Ein, and Jet. So the guy who is on the 4th book of this series is Jet. So, yeah, I just wanted to have one for my collection. Now, I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, so I just got this for my collection. I will still be looking out for a higher grade copy, and then if I find one, I might sell it. But, I just want one for my collection, and they're hard to find, man. They are not something you see very often, and when you do, people do want a little bit for them. Next up, Fighting Yank number 18. And this is a really good value book. I don't think I paid more than $150 for this book, maybe under that, under $100. It's a 3.5, but it's non-superhero related, except, I guess, say Fighting Yank, but it's not like, Nazis or just, the normal stuff you'd see a cover. It's worth a lot. So these kind of covers for Schomburg usually are pretty cheap. And if you want to get into the Schomburg game, look for these kind of books. So they usually sell pretty cheap. But I like it, and I needed it for my collection. And I like having a few books that doesn't cost arm and a leg. Spider-Man 196. This is just, I like the book. I'm putting the full run of Spider-Man together. And so here's a 9.6 from the 70s, even though it's 79, but hey, it's still 70s. And it's got a cool Mysterio. Next up, this is part of like 2 books I wanted to show you guys. I think these 2 books are kind of cool, both 9.8s. But it's Wonder Woman from this Brian Bolland period of time where in the 90s they kind of went back to a lot of this kind of like Wonder Woman in S&M gear, tied up, and a little tortured. I mean, there's a lot of covers. There's some Adam Hughes covers later on. I mean, I don't think they'd ever do this again to Wonder Woman as a character. And this kind of goes back to her 50s origin, 40s and 50s origin, where she was kind of tied up a lot and doing a lot of spanking. And so this is from Joker. So this is kind of a Jokerized version of Wonder Woman. And then this is kind of like from almost like a Killing Joke type time period. So I think these are undervalued. I mean, these are not expensive at all books. Let me tell you. But they tell a story. They kind of have this interesting appeal to them, and I think eventually people are going to go back to this time period and just be like, that's kind of crazy, wackadoodle time period for Wonder Woman there, and that'll probably never happen again. Next up, Spider-Man 309.2. I picked up this book whenever I can, and I do think it's overblown a little bit, but I do think people generally love this book no matter what grade it's in. And so when I go to conventions, again, this is a book that people ask for regardless of pricing. 5 years ago, this book would sell out. I mean, every show I would go to. Fables 1, 9.8. I did a little video about universes I think would be amazing for this speculation, because I do feel Fables got screwed by Once Upon a Time, and this is a much better series than that as far as stories go. Willingham is amazing storyteller, and Fables 1 still gets a lot of love. I think this is still a $300 plus book, But it's definitely not as much as it could have been if they would have actually made it into a series. That was good. Another cool universe, or I don't want to say really universe because this is a very self-contained series. There was really no spin-offs like in Fables. You had multiple spin-offs. Why the Last Man though is a great story, and this is the first appearance of basically everyone. And eventually, this book goes up and down because there's speculation, but it's still a great book. And regardless if it ever gets made into media, it is still worth owning. Just like Saga #1, still worth owning. Next up is Killing Joke, 9.8. I think this is where you get into with this book. You know, it's a controversial storyline, but it's a great storyline. I mean, from a dramatic standpoint. And I think this book gets romanticized a little bit as far as being hard to get because it made so many printings that people get confused. I don't think it's that rare. And the way they made this book, it does kind of make it easier, you know, with the squared off, thicker book. It's actually, I think, easier to find in high grade than you would think. So, but I like it. I think it's a key book. Always going to be something that people want to have. Okay, next up, Wolverine #1, limited series #1. Again, this is a classic book. I pick it up whenever I get a chance. You saw I have some Wolverine covers, but this is the granddaddy of them all. And this is, you know, Frank Miller, you know, doing his thing. People love it. No ifs, ands, or buts. You go to comic book shows, that book, Spider-Man 300. I mean, they all just, you know, sell, you know, like crazy. I just picked this up, so I wanted to, you know, this is kind of Silver Age type books that I think are just kind of crazy cheap. First appearance of Power Girl. You know, I just think it's, you know, cool that, I mean, she's a very cool character. I mean, I really dig her, especially in the 80s Justice League with Booster Gold and those guys. But, you know, they've done some really cool stuff with her. They've done some stuff that's not so cool with her. But it's still an important character, and it's really cheap for a first appearance of a character like that. So, you know, a 9.4 is a pretty good grade for that book. And let's see. Yeah, and so that's really it. The rest of these books I have in this box are really my Silver Age collection. And there's only one book I was wanting to show. Just to, you know, just to show that, you know, sometimes some perseverance does pay off. And I have this book now. And this one, you know, I've had this book 3 times, and I'm finally going to keep it. And what I did back 3 years ago was I traded this book in an 8.0 condition, or 7.5, it's one of the two, straight up for almost the same condition, ASM 129. Oh my God. One of the worst trades you could ever make. And I picked this up, thankfully, last year before the big price increase. And so I have it. I like it. It is never going to leave. I do have its companion. Right here. So I do have the 94 GSX1 combo. So I know a lot of people kind of view these books as a package deal. I've had this book since kind of forever. I've never gotten rid of it. And I picked this up again last year, and it's like my 3rd copy. So the only thing that I've lost that I've never replaced yet is my Hulk 181. I had a 7.5, and I don't have any Hulk 181s left. So this book will eventually, I'll eventually have to get it, I guess. I mean, I want to, but with the pricing now, it's one of those books that just makes it very difficult for me to want to pay the price. But I think it is a cool book. So, well, I want to share. You know, I was able to pick this up again before pricing, and I think as you go through your collections, and sometimes you get lucky and you pick things up at the right time. And this is an example where I had it, I got rid of it. I still like 129. Okay, ASM 129 is still a good book. It's definitely not this book anymore. Um, and I got these books now, and they're in the collection, and I don't plan on getting rid of them. And I know a lot of people are saying sell now because pricing is super high, but I got in before the pricing. So if it goes down to below or at this pricing, I'm still okay. It's just a book that is always going to be important. So, but there it is. So that's my update. I know it's quite long. I haven't done an update really on comics since the year started. And I got a couple videos now, and hopefully I'm caught up with everyone, and we can just do the openings and the daily type stuff now. But I want to show you kind of how I'm thinking. A lot of my books are coming in, half going to personal collection, half going to my inventory for going to conventions, and we'll see how it turns out. And I'll see you guys next